Imagine experiencing a situation in which, in the hustle and bustle of everyday life, someone is treated with disdain for looking like just another customer. But suddenly, everything changes. That simple, quiet man not only has much more power than you thought, he also has a story that can inspire anyone at any stage of life. In this story, a brief moment of impatience turns into a surprising turnaround, full of lessons about empathy, respect, and second chances. Stay with us until the end, because you'll discover how a simple meal can teach us a great lesson, even more so when the protagonist is someone as special as Morgan Freeman. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified whenever there are new stories on the channel. The late afternoon breeze blew gently through the streets of Lakeview, a noble neighborhood in Chicago, where the renowned Lakeview Prime restaurant stood. With its large glass windows, imported crystal chandeliers, and sober decor in shades of grey and brown, the place was known for welcoming executives, celebrities, and lovers of haute cuisine who could afford the unique experience. The atmosphere was both luxurious and welcoming, but behind that sophisticated aura, the day-to-day pressure on the staff was immense. Kelsey White, a young woman of 25, had been working as a waitress at Lakeview Prime for almost 3 years. She had come from a small town in the Texas countryside to pursue her dream of becoming an actress. But so far, she had only landed insignificant roles in local commercials. She needed to pay her bills, so she took the job at the restaurant with the hope that she wouldn't be there long. However, unsuccessful auditions and the competitiveness of Chicago kept her stuck in the role of serving demanding customers, who often didn't see the staff as people, but as mere servants. That night, the place was starting to fill up. Kelsey, wearing her impeccable uniform, black shirt and slacks, balanced on low heels as she moved between the tables, taking orders, serving drinks and listening with a trained smile to the typical complaints of customers willing to complain about any detail to justify a possible discount. John Miller, another experienced waiter, passed her carrying a tray full of glasses. He glanced at her and commented, "Did you see who arrived today? That group of businessmen from Chicago's financial district. They always tip badly. If it falls in your section, good luck." Kelsey rolled her eyes, without losing her professional smile. "Great. Just when I'm running out of patience." She took a deep breath and walked over to Kathy Robinson, the restaurant manager, who was positioned near the bar. Kathy, a woman in her 40s with her red hair neatly tied up in a bun, rarely smiled. She used to charge her staff without much politeness. "Kelsey, I need you to take the window tables today. The sommelier will be attending to the businessmen personally. You just need to make sure they don't miss anything," said Kathy, turning her head away. Kelsey nodded, internally annoyed. She still remembered the last time those businessmen had shown up. They had ordered expensive dishes, demanded changes to the menu, and in the end, left derisory tips. But there was no choice. She took the special menu and made her way to the table. As soon as Kelsey handed the menu to one of the executives, Ben Parker, he looked her up and down and commented, "I hope you're better prepared today. Last week, my meat was overcooked." She kept smiling. "We'll do our best to make everything perfect today, sir." As she walked away to get the requested drinks, she heard the loud laughter of the group. She felt humiliated by the tone of voice and the snobbish attitude. She thought, how can people like that have so much money and so little education? But she swallowed her indignation. She had to be professional. He needed every penny to pay the rent and, if possible, to continue his acting classes in his spare time. Near the bar, John noticed Kelsey's heavy countenance. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine. I'm just tired. These people drive me crazy." He shrugged. "Relax. The shift will be over soon." The flow of customers increased every half hour. The buzz of conversation filled the large room, and the instrumental music in the background mixed with the clinking of cutlery. That's when a tall, dark-skinned man walked through the front door. He was wearing a light blue dress shirt, well-cut pants and comfortable shoes. Nothing fancy. He looked to be in his 70s, but there was something about his gaze, calm and observant, that caught the eye. He approached the reception desk without showing any haste or arrogance. "Good evening, sir. Do you have a reservation?" asked the receptionist, Lisa Carter, with her usual formality. "No, but can I get a table for a quick dinner?" His voice echoed quietly, with an enveloping serenity. Lisa quickly consulted the system. Almost all the tables were booked, but there was one seat available near the bar, not so visible to anyone coming in. She smiled. "I think I've got something. Please come with me." Kathy, the manager, walked over and gave her a suspicious look. She didn't recognize the man immediately, but she noticed that he seemed confident, even though he didn't display the kind of haughtiness common to customers used to spending fortunes in the restaurant. He sat down, thanked Lisa, and politely took the menu. Kelsey noticed the scene from afar. She saw that this was a customer who was not one of the businessmen, nor did he look like a tourist. She approached him as neutrally as she could. "Good evening, sir. My name is Kelsey. Can I help you choose something?" He looked up kindly and gave her a smile. "Good evening, Kelsey. I think I'll have a grilled steak with steamed vegetables. To drink, just water, please." She nodded, taking his order. A simple man, she thought. There were customers who appreciated expensive wines or sophisticated starters. He just wanted the essentials. Deep down, Kelsey felt a slight discomfort. Over the last few weeks, her patience with people who didn't fit with the place had been undermined by constant stress and the feeling of being undervalued. And even without a concrete reason, she was intrigued. Why would someone with such a calm demeanor come here for dinner alone, without a reservation, and just order water? She went to the bar counter and prepared to take the water. When she returned out of impulse, and perhaps irritation at the busy night, she let a certain impatience show. "Here's your water, sir. Anything else?" He noticed her discomfort, but kept his tone friendly. "I'm fine for now. Thank you for your attention." She turned away quickly and returned to the bustle of the kitchen. She didn't even notice that Kathy was watching her from afar, frowning. While the mystery ran wild at the soft-spoken gentleman's table, Kelsey continued to struggle to manage the demands of the businessmen in the window. At one point, Ben Parker raised his voice. "Waitress! I've already ordered the wine 3 times. I think you need better training." Kelsey took a deep breath, trying not to explode. She hurried to get the wine. When she poured it, he still complained about the temperature of the drink. Her voice controlled, she simply replied, "I'll speak to our sommelier to make sure it's perfect, sir." Inside, she felt like she was about to explode. She needed to take it out on someone. She saw the gentleman drinking water alone and thought how bizarre the contrast was. On the one hand, people oozing arrogance. On the other, this calm stranger, as if chaos didn't exist. That's when Amanda Collins, one of her colleagues, approached. Kelsey in the corridor leading to the kitchen. "You look like hell. Is something wrong?" Kelsey shook her head. "Those guys at table 12 are going to drive me crazy. And then there's that other guy who came in out of nowhere and is just drinking water like he's in a cafe." Amanda frowned. "I don't understand. What's wrong with him?" Kelsey snorted. "It's not a problem. It's just, I don't know. It's weird. He seems too calm, you know? We're running around here and he's so peaceful." Amanda laughed softly. "Maybe he just wants to eat in silence, or he's some big shot who doesn't want to attract attention." Kelsey shrugged in disbelief. "Big shot with that simple request? I doubt it." As the evening progressed, the kitchen delayed a few orders and the tension grew. The businessman, irritable, called Kelsey again. "How long are we going to wait for the meat to arrive? Do you think our time is worthless?" She tried to justify herself. "The chef is finishing the dishes. I promise he'll be here in a few minutes." Ben snorted. "This is absurd. I'll take it up with the owner if this doesn't improve." Kelsey felt her blood boil. "Please feel free to talk to the management," she retorted, trying to maintain a modicum of politeness. When she returned to the lounge, she saw the same quiet gentleman, finishing his steak without complaint. She had to hand him the bill. He took the paper, took a deep breath, and made his way to the table. There, he placed the bill on the table, without much ceremony. "Here it is, when you want to close." He looked up. "Thanks, but I'd like a dessert first. Do you have any recommendations?" She bit the inside of her worn cheek and replied, "We have apple pie with ice cream or the house cheesecake. They're good options." He smiled. "I'll have the apple pie then. Thanks." Kelsey nodded briefly. As she was walking away, she muttered something to herself. Something along the lines of, "Customer who asks for too little and gets in the way too much." She wasn't sure if he'd heard, but out of the corner of her eye, she saw him raise his head in confusion. Nevertheless, she moved on, focused on getting rid of the late orders from the other tables. Minutes later, the gentleman finished his dessert. Kelsey saw that it was time to present the actual bill. She approached. "How was the pie, sir?" she asked in an automatic tone. He finished wiping his mouth with his napkin. "Very good. It reminded me of my childhood, thank you." She forced a smile, still a little ironic, and dryly dropped the bill. "Thank you." He pulled out the bill to check and reached into his jacket pocket for his wallet. He left a few dollars on the table, got up slowly, and put on a dark overcoat. Before leaving, he looked at Kelsey. He seemed about to say something, but shook his head in a resigned gesture and headed for the door. Kelsey let out a relieved breath. Another strange customer was gone. Now all that remained was to deal with the fury of the businessman and hope that the shift ended without any more disasters. The clock struck almost 11 at night when the salon began to empty. The businessman paid the bill with complaints, but left. Kelsey collected glasses, cleaned the tables, and tried to pull herself together. It was then that Kathy, the manager, appeared with a stunned look on her face, practically running towards her. "Kelsey, you won't believe who's here today," said Kathy, with a mixture of excitement and nervousness. The young waitress raised her eyebrows, without much interest. "Who?" "Morgan Freeman." For a second, Kelsey thought she had heard wrong. "The actor, Morgan Freeman." "You're kidding, right?" Kathy gestured intensely. "Yes, he has investments in several restaurants in the United States and is one of the partners in Lakeview Prime. He doesn't come around very often, but he came in person today, disguised as a regular customer. And do you know what they told me at the office? He spent most of the time observing the service without identifying himself." A cold wave ran through Kelsey's body. Her mind immediately went back to the quiet, soft-spoken man who had dined alone, ordering only water and steak. That look, it had to be him. She felt her legs tremble. Wait, but he didn't introduce himself. He didn't say anything. Kathy gave her an alarmed look. "Yeah, and I heard he noticed you a lot. What happened at his table?" Kelsey swallowed, remembering the barbs she had let out, albeit subtly. She remembered thinking that she was a strange customer and had possibly made comments that he might have overheard. Her heart was beating fast, almost bursting out of her mouth. I had no idea. I was normal," she lied, trying to calm Kathy down, and herself. The manager, noticing the tension. "Look, he hasn't made any formal complaints, but I don't doubt that he noticed us rushing around. He's known for being very observant and discreet. Let's hope all is well." Kelsey felt her eyes darken and had to lean on the nearest chair. She was afraid of being fired, afraid of losing her only source of income, while her attempts to become an actress remained uncertain. How could I have treated him so impatiently? That night, Kelsey hardly slept. Every time she closed her eyes, she remembered Morgan Freeman's calm countenance and how smug and stressed she had acted. If it had been any other customer, she might have simply ignored the matter. But this was Morgan Freeman, a movie legend, someone with a reputation as a kind and extremely respectful person. And worse, he was one of the partners in Lakeview Prime. The next morning, she entered the restaurant earlier than usual, shaking with anxiety. She checked her cell phone several times to see if there was any message from Kathy or anyone in. Management announcing her resignation. Nothing. The silence made her even more anxious. She went straight to the locker area, where she found John and Amanda talking quietly. "I heard about Morgan Freeman. I nearly fainted when they told me," said Amanda. John agreed. Yeah, if I had recognized him, I would have asked for his autograph. But nobody noticed. It was all so discreet. Kelsey dropped her bag in the closet with a thud. I took care of him, guys, and I wasn't exactly nice. I think I'm in trouble. Amanda and John looked at each other, surprised. You? But what did you do? Asked Amanda. She told them briefly about her impatience, her little pinpricks, and the dry way she handed over the bill. John sighed. Kelsey, you'd better get ready, or you could try talking to him if he shows up again. I don't know. Talk to what? Apologize. How am I supposed to do that if he doesn't even show up? What if he's already decided he doesn't want me here? Amanda put her hand on Kelsey's shoulder. Try to stay calm. If he hasn't complained, maybe it's because he wants to see how you behave from now on. Morgan Freeman is known for being understanding, but also very firm in his principles. The next few days were a real test for Kelsey. Every time the restaurant door opened, she froze, thinking that Morgan Freeman would appear at any moment to confront her, or that Kathy would come and give her the fateful news of her dismissal. But nothing happened. The routine of Lakeview Prime continued, with demanding customers, sophisticated dishes, and an endless stream of demands. One Saturday night, on one of the restaurant's busiest dates, Kelsey was at the counter checking with Lisa about some last-minute reservations when she felt a chill. She looked up at the entrance and there he was. Morgan Freeman, wearing a grey blazer, white shirt, and that observant look that had made her cringe a few days ago. She felt her heart race. He spoke briefly to Lisa, who pointed to Kathy. Immediately, the manager walked over to him, greeting him with a mixture of respect and nervousness. Morgan returned the greeting without much ceremony. Then her eyes scanned the room until they settled on Kelsey. She almost dropped the tray she was holding. In a cold sweat, she tried to regain her composure. To approach or not to approach, Morgan took a few steps towards her, while Kathy watched from a distance. "Good evening, Kelsey, isn't it?" he said in a friendly tone. She swallowed. "Yes, sir. Good evening, it's nice to see you again." He inclined his head slightly. "Can I sit at the same table as before? I liked it there." Kelsey hurried to guide Morgan to the table near the bar, where he settled down. She held out the menu, with a trembling hand. "Here you are, sir. Would you like something to drink first?" "Water's fine, thank you," he replied, with an enigmatic smile. With her heart pounding, Kelsey brought him the water. She needed to say something, but the words wouldn't come. It was Morgan who broke the silence in a calm voice. "I imagine you're surprised I came back." She gave him a shy smile. "A little, yes. To be honest, I was afraid I'd displeased you last time." Morgan shook his head. "Fear doesn't solve things. If something's bothering me, I'd rather talk about it." There was a brief silence. Kelsey then plucked up courage. "Mr. Freeman, I apologize if I was disrespectful that day. I was stressed. It's no excuse, but it's hard to stay patient with so many customers who treat you as if you were invisible. And I ended up taking it out on the wrong person." Morgan closed the menu, putting it down on the table. "I understand that working here isn't easy, but it's precisely in those moments that you show who you are. You look tired and resentful. Have you been here long?" 3 years. I came to Chicago to try to be an actress, but things didn't work out the way I'd hoped." Morgan stared at her intently. "And you gave up on your dream?" She felt a lump in her throat. "Not exactly, but every day I spend serving expensive dishes to people who don't respect me. I feel like I'm getting further away. Sometimes I wonder if it's worth it." He smiled kindly. "It's worth it if you still believe in yourself. And about respect, know that the people who matter most will see your value, even if only silently." A comforting warmth came over Kelsey, and tears threatened to well up in her eyes. She had never imagined that she would have such a personal conversation with Morgan Freeman, especially at the place where she worked. She took a deep breath, trying to contain her emotion. "Thank you for not complaining to management," Or firing me, she said, with a half smile. Morgan shook her head slightly. I don't usually use my power as a partner to punish people. I prefer to understand what's behind their behavior. I believe we're all fighting internal battles. After that brief conversation, Kelsey took Morgan's order, a simple grilled chicken with salad, to the kitchen. She felt refreshed, as if a heavy cloud had dissipated. When she returned to deliver the dish, she found him observing the surroundings, almost like someone analyzing every detail. He thanked her for the dish, and before starting to eat, looked at her again. Kelsey, can I ask you something? Of course, sir. Why do you stay here if you don't like what you do? She hesitated. She wanted to be honest. Because I need to pay my bills, and I'm still holding out hope that I'll find an opportunity in theatre or TV. I can't just drop everything, as much as I hate this climate sometimes. Morgan laughed slightly. I understand. But maybe it's not about quitting everything. It's about changing the way you look at what you do. Treating people well can bring unexpected opportunities. She nodded, feeling the weight of it. Maybe I really do need to look at my job differently, she thought. As Morgan finished his meal, Kathy and John watched from afar, curious. At the end, Kelsey went to take the bill. He put his credit card on top of the paper, and she went to the cashier to make the charge. When she returned with the receipt for him to sign, Morgan took the pen and wrote quietly. Before getting up, she left a small envelope next to the receipt. Kelsey, surprised, took the envelope carefully. In it was a business card from a local Chicago production company with the name of a contact and a handwritten note. Kelsey, if you still dream of acting, look up this contact. It's from a friend of mine who is involved in new independent productions. It's not Hollywood, but it could be a start. Morgan Freeman. She stood still, holding the note between trembling fingers. Morgan approached. I can't guarantee anything, but I believe that doors open when you do your part. Kelsey felt tears of gratitude forming in the corners of her eyes. I can't thank you enough. He smiled. Just treat each person as if they were special. You never know who's sitting at your table. His colleagues, seeing the emotion on her face, approached. Morgan turned to Kathy, who looked nervous. Thank you for your service today. Lakeview Prime continues to be excellent. Keep up that standard. Kathy almost bowed with relief. I'm glad you enjoyed it, Mr. Freeman. Come back any time. He waved discreetly goodbye, picked up his overcoat, and left. The hall was silent for a few moments, until Lisa and the other employees started whispering, surprised by his attitude. After Morgan Freeman left, Kelsey realized that she had experienced a rare opportunity to rediscover empathy and humility. She felt ashamed for having judged so many people, including that kind gentleman, and understood that each client could be a living story, a learning experience. In the days that followed, the change in Kelsey's behavior was clear. She began to deal with customers more patiently, even the rude businessmen. She stopped taking out her frustrations on people who had nothing to do with her personal dramas. Instead, she tried to see every interaction as a chance to practice respect and empathy. John, amazed, commented, "Wow, Kelsey, you're a different person. Even the most annoying staff complimented you on your service." She smiled modestly. "I've discovered that sometimes you just need a little push in the right direction." At home that week, Kelsey wrote an email to the contact Morgan had indicated. The reply came a few days later, an invitation to audition for an independent web series. It wouldn't be huge, but it represented a door, a spark of hope. A few weeks later, Kelsey swapped her night shift for lunchtime, as she had started to combine work with script reading. Despite her fatigue, she radiated satisfaction, aware that every step towards her dream now seemed more real. After serving a table full of young university students, who tipped her well above average, she stopped for a moment and remembered the words of Morgan Freeman, "You never know who's sitting at your table." That same afternoon, when her workday was over, Kelsey walked outside the restaurant and sat down on a small bench where she could see the lake in the distance. She picked up the envelope he had left, holding the business card with affection. She realized that, more than a job opportunity, Morgan had given her a call for empathy and respect. A reminder that every human interaction, no matter how mundane it may seem, can reveal great surprises and unimaginable second chances. At that moment, she understood that the true power of the encounter was not in fame or money, but in the way each person can transform the life of another, whether it's offering an opportunity, giving a simple smile, or listening with genuine interest. Kelsey decided that regardless of whether or not she achieved fame as an actress, she would carry that lesson with her forever. Humility and compassion can open doors that arrogance and frustration keep closed. That's how she was able to see in her work, which had previously felt like a prison, a way to develop empathy, mature, and finally get closer to what really mattered, making a difference in people's lives, and at the same time, pursuing her dream with a lighter heart.